Good day everyone, and welcome once again to this channel. I, your host Harshit Simha, will take this last session on the CDP 2026 disclosure cycle. In today's increasingly complex sustainability landscape, organizations are expected to demonstrate not only financial resilience but also environmental responsibility through transparent, credible, and standardized disclosures. The CDP 2026 disclosure cycle provides organizations with an internationally recognized platform for communicating their environmental performance while preparing for evolving regulatory, investor, and market expectations. The main topic, CDP 2026 disclosure cycle, introduces the commencement of the 2026 reporting window and emphasizes that environmental disclosure has evolved beyond voluntary sustainability reporting into a strategic business necessity. Organizations today face increasing scrutiny from regulators, investors, customers, financial institutions, and civil society, all of whom seek reliable information regarding climate risks, water stewardship, biodiversity conservation, and environmental governance. An important subtopic, future-proofing organizations, highlights CDP's role as a forward-looking disclosure framework. Rather than merely documenting historical environmental performance, CDP enables organizations to anticipate emerging sustainability regulations, prepare for climate-related financial disclosure requirements, strengthen enterprise risk management, and improve long-term business resilience. Another subtopic, readiness across stakeholders, emphasizes that disclosure simultaneously addresses multiple stakeholder expectations. Investors increasingly evaluate ESG performance before allocating capital, regulators require standardized sustainability information, customers demand environmentally responsible supply chains, and financial institutions incorporate climate-related risks into lending decisions. Consequently, comprehensive environmental disclosure has become an important determinant of corporate competitiveness. As sustainability professionals, we should recognize that transparency builds credibility. High-quality disclosures improve governance, strengthen stakeholder confidence, facilitate access to sustainable finance, and demonstrate organizational commitment toward responsible environmental management. Throughout this presentation, we will examine how CDP's 2026 disclosure framework equips organizations with the tools, methodologies, and strategic insights necessary to navigate an increasingly interconnected global sustainability landscape while contributing meaningfully to climate action and nature-positive development. Slide 2. Start disclosing now. This slide focuses on Start Disclosing Now, highlighting why organizations should begin participating in the CDP 2026 disclosure cycle without delay. Environmental disclosure is no longer simply a reporting obligation. It has become a strategic instrument that strengthens organizational resilience, regulatory preparedness, and stakeholder confidence. Start Disclosing Now encourages organizations to proactively engage in the disclosure process during the official response window. Early participation enables companies to establish robust reporting systems, validate environmental data, and identify opportunities for operational improvement before disclosure requirements become increasingly stringent. Now question arises: why CDP disclosure? The first reasons is related with the market readiness, emphasizes the growing importance of responding to investor expectations. Institutional investors increasingly incorporate environmental performance into portfolio decisions, credit ratings, and investment risk assessments. Structured disclosure through CDP provides credible environmental information that supports informed investment decisions while enhancing organizational transparency and accountability. The second reasons, regulatory readiness, highlights the rapidly evolving global regulatory environment. Sustainability disclosure requirements are expanding across major jurisdictions through initiatives such as the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, ISSB standards, and climate-related financial disclosure regulations. Organizations participating in CDP position themselves ahead of regulatory developments while minimizing future compliance risks. The third is related with customer readiness, recognizes that customers increasingly expect businesses to demonstrate responsible environmental management throughout their operations and supply chains. Transparent reporting strengthens customer trust, enhances brand reputation, supports responsible procurement, and creates competitive differentiation within increasingly sustainability-conscious markets. As instructors, we should emphasize that organizations should not perceive disclosure merely as a compliance exercise. Instead, it should be viewed as an opportunity to strengthen governance, improve data quality, identify environmental risks, enhance strategic planning, and communicate measurable sustainability achievements. Beginning the disclosure journey early allows organizations to develop internal competencies, establish effective reporting processes, and continuously improve environmental performance while creating lasting value for investors, customers, regulators, and society as a whole. Slide 3. Future-proofing through disclosure and CDP Foundation versus CDP. This slide examines future-proofing through disclosure while also clarifying the complementary roles of the CDP Foundation and CDP. Understanding this organizational structure helps explain how CDP delivers both public-purpose environmental leadership and world-class disclosure services. The future-proofing through disclosure emphasizes that environmental reporting is fundamentally a strategic management tool rather than merely an administrative requirement. Organizations that systematically collect, analyze, and disclose environmental information are better equipped to anticipate regulatory changes, identify emerging risks, respond to investor expectations, and strengthen organizational resilience. Disclosure therefore supports proactive rather than reactive sustainability management. The first is related with strategic value of disclosure, demonstrates that reliable environmental information enables organizations to make evidence-based decisions. Environmental data assists leadership in identifying operational inefficiencies, reducing resource consumption, managing climate-related risks, strengthening governance systems, and improving long-term competitiveness within evolving sustainability markets. The second is CDP Foundation, explains that the foundation operates as a non-profit organization dedicated to advancing the public interest by promoting transparency, environmental accountability, and earth-positive decision-making. Its primary objective is to encourage organizations worldwide to disclose environmental information that supports sustainable development and protects future generations. The third CDP topic is related to commercial entity, that describes the commercial organization responsible for providing disclosure infrastructure, digital platforms, analytical services, and reporting support to corporations, investors, purchasing organizations, and supply chains across the globe. This operational structure enables efficient delivery of high-quality environmental reporting services while maintaining alignment with the Foundation's public purpose mission. As sustainability professionals, we should appreciate that although these entities perform different operational functions, they pursue one common objective: improving environmental transparency. Together, they facilitate better corporate governance, stronger investor confidence, more informed policymaking, and accelerated progress toward climate resilience, biodiversity conservation, and sustainable economic development through high-quality environmental disclosure. Slide 4. CDP Adaptation and Action Explorer. Welcome to this discussion on the CDP Adaptation and Action Explorer, one of the most innovative developments introduced within the CDP 2026 disclosure cycle. As climate-related risks become increasingly localized and complex, organizations require decision support systems capable of translating environmental information into practical adaptation strategies. The Adaptation and Action Explorer addresses this emerging need through an artificial intelligence-enabled platform designed to strengthen climate resilience. The main topic, CDP Adaptation and Action Explorer, introduces a public-purpose digital platform that assists governments, cities, regional authorities, businesses, and other stakeholders in understanding climate and nature-related risks while identifying effective adaptation pathways. to understand physical risks, emphasizes that climate risks vary significantly across geographic locations. The Explorer enables users to assess localized risks associated with flooding, droughts, heat waves, biodiversity degradation, sea level rise, and other climate-related hazards. Such place-based intelligence supports more accurate environmental risk assessments and strengthens long-term planning. The Link Risks to Actions explains how the platform connects identified risks with adaptation measures already implemented by comparable cities, regions, or organizations. This feature allows decision makers to learn from existing experiences, evaluate successful interventions, and accelerate implementation of effective resilience strategies. The Identify Adaptation Pathways demonstrates how artificial intelligence supports evidence-based decision-making by recommending practical adaptation options tailored to local environmental conditions. These recommendations assist policymakers, infrastructure planners, businesses, and communities in prioritizing investments that enhance resilience while optimizing available resources. Lastly, we should emphasize that climate adaptation is becoming as important as climate mitigation. While reducing greenhouse gas emissions remains essential, organizations must simultaneously prepare for unavoidable physical climate impacts. The Adaptation and Action Explorer transforms environmental disclosure into actionable intelligence, enabling organizations to move beyond reporting toward strategic resilience planning, informed environmental governance, and sustainable regional development supported by science-based digital innovation. Slide 5. The value of disclosure. In this session, we examine the value of disclosure, one of the most important principles underpinning modern environmental governance. Sustainability disclosure is no longer viewed merely as a reporting requirement. Instead, it has become a strategic management instrument that enables organizations to identify risks, strengthen stakeholder confidence, and enhance long-term competitiveness. CDP disclosure provides organizations with structured environmental information that supports better decision-making across every level of business operations. The value of disclosure emphasizes that transparent environmental reporting creates measurable business value while strengthening organizational resilience in an increasingly sustainability-driven economy. The risk management highlights how systematic environmental disclosure enables organizations to identify, evaluate, and manage climate-related, water-related, biodiversity-related, and supply chain risks before they develop into significant operational or financial challenges. Reliable environmental information supports enterprise risk management by enabling organizations to anticipate future regulatory developments, resource constraints, and physical climate impacts. The investor relations demonstrates that environmental transparency has become an important determinant of investment decisions. Institutional investors increasingly evaluate ESG performance alongside financial performance when allocating capital. Organizations providing credible CDP disclosures enhance investor confidence, strengthen corporate governance, reduce information asymmetry, and improve access to sustainable finance. The third is competitive advantage, illustrates how organizations that disclose environmental information proactively position themselves ahead of evolving regulations, customer expectations, and market trends. Early disclosure enables organizations to identify efficiency improvements, strengthen brand reputation, improve stakeholder trust, and differentiate themselves within increasingly competitive markets. As sustainability professionals, we should recognize that disclosure generates value beyond compliance. It improves governance, supports innovation, facilitates strategic planning, enhances operational efficiency, and strengthens corporate resilience. Organizations embracing transparent environmental reporting today are better prepared to navigate future sustainability challenges while creating enduring value for shareholders, customers, employees, regulators, and society. Environmental disclosure therefore represents an investment in long-term business sustainability rather than merely a reporting obligation. Slide 6. Case study, Telefónica turns to renewable power. This slide presents an excellent example of how environmental sustainability and business profitability can reinforce one another through the case study. Telefónica turns to renewable power. Practical case studies provide valuable evidence that environmental disclosure is not simply about reporting performance, it is about enabling organizations to implement meaningful operational improvements that generate measurable business benefits. The Telefónica turns renewable energy in action illustrates how one of Europe's leading telecommunications companies successfully integrated renewable energy into its business strategy while strengthening both environmental and financial performance. The first is the challenge, explains that Telefónica faced rising energy costs alongside increasing expectations to reduce greenhouse gas emissions across its extensive global telecommunications network. As energy-intensive operations expanded, the organization required a solution capable of improving operational efficiency while supporting long-term climate commitments. The second is related with the solution, demonstrates how the organization transitioned toward renewable electricity sources, reducing dependence on conventional fossil fuel-based energy. This strategic shift enabled Telefónica to lower operating costs, decrease carbon emissions, improve energy resilience, and transparently communicate environmental progress through CDP disclosure. The renewable power as a business strategy emphasizes an important lesson for all organizations. Sustainability investments should not be viewed solely as environmental expenditures. Instead, renewable energy adoption contributes to cost optimization, improved energy security, regulatory preparedness, investor confidence, and enhanced corporate reputation. Environmental performance and financial performance therefore become mutually reinforcing objectives. Finally, we should encourage organizations to learn from practical success stories such as Telefónica. Effective sustainability strategies integrate environmental stewardship with business strategy rather than treating them as separate initiatives. CDP disclosure provides organizations with a structured platform to communicate such achievements, demonstrate accountability, benchmark progress, and inspire broader organizational transformation toward cleaner energy systems and long-term climate resilience. Slide 7. Are you ready to maximize your disclosure dividend? This slide introduces the concept of maximizing your disclosure dividend, emphasizing that organizations derive the greatest value from environmental disclosure when reporting is integrated into strategic decision-making rather than treated as a compliance exercise. High-quality disclosure generates significant organizational benefits by strengthening governance, improving performance, and creating new business opportunities. To maximizing your disclosure dividend encourages organizations to unlock the full strategic value of their CDP participation through continuous improvement, comprehensive reporting, and evidence-based decision-making. The first is assess your baseline, emphasizes the importance of understanding an organization's current environmental performance before establishing future sustainability objectives. Organizations should evaluate existing environmental data systems, governance arrangements, reporting capabilities, and performance indicators to identify strengths, weaknesses, and improvement opportunities. The second is disclose comprehensively, highlights the need to provide complete, accurate, and well-supported responses across climate change, water security, and forest-related disclosures. Comprehensive reporting improves CDP scores, strengthens stakeholder confidence, enhances regulatory preparedness, and demonstrates organizational commitment to transparency and accountability. The third is act on insights, explains that disclosure should lead directly to organizational action. Environmental information generated through CDP should support target setting, strategic planning, operational improvements, investment prioritization, and communication with investors, regulators, customers, and employees. Reporting becomes valuable only when it influences management decisions and drives measurable sustainability outcomes. As sustainability practitioners, we should reinforce that environmental disclosure represents a continuous improvement cycle rather than an annual reporting exercise. Organizations should measure environmental performance, disclose credible information, analyze findings, implement corrective actions, and continuously monitor progress. By transforming disclosure into strategic intelligence, organizations maximize both environmental performance and long-term business value while strengthening resilience within an increasingly sustainability-focused global economy. Slide 8. Disclosure drives action. This slide focuses on disclosure drives action, highlighting one of the most significant findings emerging from decades of CDP reporting. Organizations that systematically disclose environmental information do not simply improve reporting quality, they improve environmental performance itself. Transparency creates accountability, and accountability stimulates meaningful organizational action. The disclosure drives action demonstrates that structured environmental disclosure serves as a catalyst for continuous improvement across climate management, water stewardship, biodiversity conservation, and sustainable supply chain governance. The accountability through disclosure explains that organizations collecting and publicly reporting environmental data become more accountable to investors, regulators, customers, employees, and society. Transparent disclosure encourages organizations to establish measurable targets, strengthen governance systems, allocate appropriate resources, and continuously improve environmental performance. The Climate, Water and Forests emphasizes that CDP's three primary disclosure themes reflect the interconnected nature of environmental systems. Climate change influences water availability, water scarcity affects ecosystems and agricultural productivity, while deforestation contributes significantly to greenhouse gas emissions and biodiversity loss. Reporting across all three themes therefore provides a comprehensive understanding of organizational environmental impacts. The integrated environmental decision-making also illustrates how organizations benefit from considering environmental issues collectively rather than independently. Integrated disclosures enable management to understand complex interrelationships between climate risks, freshwater resources, land use, ecosystem services, and supply chain resilience. This systems-based approach supports more informed strategic planning and stronger environmental governance. Summing up, one should emphasize that environmental disclosure is not an endpoint but the beginning of organizational transformation. The discipline of measuring, reporting, evaluating, and improving environmental performance creates a continuous cycle of accountability and innovation. Through integrated disclosure, organizations enhance resilience, strengthen stakeholder confidence, improve operational efficiency, and contribute meaningfully to global efforts addressing climate change, water security, biodiversity conservation, and sustainable development. Slide 9. 3 Environmental Themes. Welcome to this session on 3 environmental themes, which form the cornerstone of CDP's integrated environmental disclosure framework. Environmental sustainability cannot be effectively managed by examining individual issues in isolation. Climate change, water security, and forests are deeply interconnected natural systems that influence business continuity, supply chain resilience, financial performance, and long-term sustainable development. CDP therefore requires organizations to report comprehensively across these 3 critical environmental domains. The 3 environmental themes emphasizes that meaningful sustainability reporting requires organizations to understand the relationships between environmental risks rather than addressing each issue independently. The climate change focuses on measuring greenhouse gas emissions, energy consumption, climate risks, carbon reduction targets, renewable energy adoption, and transition planning. Climate disclosure enables organizations to understand their contribution to global warming while demonstrating measurable progress toward net zero commitments and climate resilience. The second is water security, addresses one of the most critical emerging business risks. Organizations are expected to identify water-related dependencies, assess operational and supply chain water risks, evaluate water stress scenarios, and implement responsible water stewardship practices. Effective water management strengthens operational continuity, regulatory compliance, and community relationships. The third is related to forests, highlights the importance of protecting natural ecosystems by disclosing information related to deforestation, sustainable commodity sourcing, responsible land use, biodiversity conservation, and ecosystem restoration. Forest protection is essential for maintaining climate stability, conserving biodiversity, and securing long-term agricultural productivity. As sustainability professionals, we should recognize that these three disclosure themes are mutually reinforcing. Climate change influences rainfall patterns and water availability. Water scarcity affects forest ecosystems and agricultural production, while deforestation accelerates greenhouse gas emissions and biodiversity loss. By integrating climate, water, and forests into one reporting framework, CDP encourages systems thinking, strengthens enterprise risk management, and enables organizations to develop comprehensive sustainability strategies that create lasting environmental and economic value. Slide 10. The CDP Scoring System. This slide introduces the CDP Scoring System, one of the defining features that distinguishes CDP from many other sustainability reporting frameworks. The scoring methodology enables organizations to assess their environmental maturity, benchmark performance against peers, and identify clear pathways for continuous improvement. Importantly, CDP scores evaluate not merely the quantity of information disclosed but also the quality of environmental governance, management practices, and leadership demonstrated by the organization. The CDP scoring system illustrates a progressive framework through which organizations advance from basic disclosure toward internationally recognized environmental leadership. Disclosure represents the initial stage of participation. Organizations begin by submitting structured environmental information regarding climate change, water security, forests, governance, risks, opportunities, and performance indicators. High-quality disclosure establishes the foundation for transparency and accountability. The second is awareness, evaluates whether organizations understand their environmental impacts, material risks, business dependencies, and emerging sustainability challenges. This stage emphasizes organizational learning, risk identification, and strategic awareness rather than operational excellence alone. The third is management, assesses whether organizations have established measurable environmental objectives, governance systems, implementation plans, performance monitoring mechanisms, and continuous improvement processes. Effective environmental management demonstrates that sustainability has become integrated into organizational decision-making. The final is leadership, represents the highest level of environmental performance. Organizations achieving leadership demonstrate best practices, ambitious science-based targets, transparent governance, innovation, stakeholder engagement, and measurable environmental outcomes extending beyond organizational boundaries into supply chains and broader society. Lastly, we should emphasize that CDP scores should never be viewed merely as rankings. Instead, they function as management tools that encourage continual improvement. Each progression from disclosure to leadership reflects increasing organizational maturity, stronger governance, enhanced resilience, improved stakeholder confidence, and greater contribution toward achieving global environmental sustainability objectives. Slide 11. Supply Chain Disclosure. In this session, we examine supply chain disclosure, one of CDP's most influential mechanisms for extending environmental accountability beyond organizational boundaries. Modern businesses rarely operate independently. Instead, they rely upon complex global supply chains involving suppliers, manufacturers, logistics providers, distributors, and contractors. Consequently, many of an organization's most significant environmental impacts occur outside its direct operational control. The supply chain disclosure demonstrates how CDP enables purchasing organizations to encourage environmental transparency throughout their entire value chains by requesting standardized disclosures from suppliers. Now question arises as to why supply chain transparency matters. The first Scope 3 emissions highlights that for many organizations, indirect emissions generated throughout the supply chain significantly exceed direct operational emissions. Without supplier disclosure, these emissions remain largely invisible. CDP enables organizations to quantify, manage, and reduce Scope 3 emissions more effectively through improved environmental data collection and supplier engagement. The second is supplier engagement, emphasizes that disclosure encourages suppliers to strengthen environmental management systems, establish measurable sustainability targets, improve operational efficiency, and enhance transparency. This collaborative approach transforms procurement into a powerful driver of environmental improvement across multiple tiers of the supply chain. The third is risk reduction, explains that supplier-level disclosure enables organizations to identify environmental risks associated with climate change, water scarcity, deforestation, regulatory compliance, and reputational exposure before they disrupt business operations. Improved visibility enhances supply chain resilience while supporting responsible sourcing decisions. As sustainability professionals, we should understand that environmental responsibility increasingly extends across the entire value chain. Effective sustainability management requires organizations to collaborate with suppliers, customers, and business partners rather than focusing solely on direct operations. CDP's supply chain program creates a multiplier effect whereby large purchasing organizations influence thousands of suppliers worldwide, accelerating global environmental improvement through transparency, accountability, and collaborative sustainability leadership. Slide 12. Regulatory landscape. Why now? And CDP TCFD alignment. This slide illustrating why environmental disclosure has become an essential strategic priority for organizations operating within today's rapidly evolving global regulatory environment. Sustainability reporting is transitioning from voluntary corporate practice toward mandatory legal compliance across major economies. CDP's framework positions organizations to navigate this transformation efficiently. The regulatory landscape, why now, highlights the convergence of international sustainability regulations that increasingly require organizations to disclose standardized environmental and climate-related information. The first is related with EU Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, CSRD, demonstrates how the European Union has significantly expanded mandatory sustainability reporting requirements. Thousands of organizations are now required to disclose comprehensive environmental, social, and governance information using standardized reporting principles. CDP disclosure supports organizations in meeting many of these requirements through an established reporting framework. The second is SEC climate rules and ISSB standards, emphasizes the growing global movement toward standardized climate-related financial disclosures. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission has strengthened disclosure expectations for listed companies, while the International Sustainability Standards Board, ISSB, has established IFRS S1 and IFRS S2 as global baseline sustainability reporting standards. These developments signal increasing international convergence toward comparable sustainability reporting practices towards CDP 2026. The CDP and TCFD alignment highlights one of CDP's greatest strengths. CDP's questionnaire is fully aligned with the recommendations of the Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosures, TCFD, enabling organizations to satisfy multiple reporting expectations through a single integrated disclosure process. The CDP alignment improves reporting efficiency while enhancing consistency, comparability, and regulatory preparedness. Lastly, we should emphasize that regulatory alignment reduces duplication, improves organizational efficiency, and strengthens governance. Organizations adopting CDP proactively are better positioned to comply with future regulations, satisfy investor expectations, reduce compliance costs, and demonstrate leadership in sustainable corporate governance. In today's business environment, environmental disclosure has become a strategic capability essential for long-term organizational resilience and global competitiveness. Slide 13. Investor confidence through disclosure and striving for leadership. Welcome to the session on investor confidence through disclosure, where we explore the increasingly important relationship between environmental transparency and capital markets. Over the past decade, sustainability performance has become a material consideration in investment analysis. Investors no longer evaluate organizations solely on financial statements. They increasingly assess environmental governance, climate resilience, resource efficiency, and long-term sustainability performance. CDP provides one of the most trusted sources of standardized environmental information supporting these investment decisions. The investor confidence through disclosure emphasizes that transparent environmental reporting strengthens organizational credibility and enables investors to make informed decisions regarding long-term business resilience and sustainable value creation. The first subtopic, investor confidence through disclosure, highlights that institutional investors representing more than 136 trillion United States dollars in assets increasingly rely upon CDP data to evaluate environmental risks, governance quality, transition readiness, and climate resilience. Transparent disclosure reduces information asymmetry, improves market confidence, enhances corporate reputation, and facilitates access to sustainable investment opportunities. The striving for leadership explains that CDP's scoring methodology encourages organizations to progress beyond basic compliance toward environmental excellence. Organizations achieving leadership level scores demonstrate comprehensive governance, ambitious environmental targets, measurable performance improvements, and continuous innovation in sustainability management. The value of leadership scores emphasizes that achieving an A or a score sends a powerful signal to investors, regulators, customers, lenders, and other stakeholders. Leadership scores indicate that environmental sustainability has become embedded within strategic planning, operational management, enterprise risk management, and corporate governance. These organizations are generally perceived as better prepared for regulatory changes, physical climate risks, and evolving market expectations. Lastly, we should emphasize that investor confidence is built upon transparency, consistency, and credibility. High-quality environmental disclosure strengthens organizational resilience while attracting long-term investment capital. Sustainability leadership is therefore not simply an environmental achievement. It is increasingly recognized as a strategic business advantage that supports financial performance, corporate reputation, and enduring stakeholder trust. Slide 14. Science-based targets and CDP. This slide focuses on science-based targets and CDP, highlighting the importance of linking environmental disclosure with scientifically credible climate action. While disclosure provides transparency regarding environmental performance, organizations also require measurable, science-based pathways for reducing greenhouse gas emissions in line with global climate objectives. Science-based targets provide this essential framework. The main topic, Science-based targets and CDP, demonstrates how CDP complements science-based target setting by enabling organizations to report progress transparently, strengthen accountability, and communicate climate ambition to stakeholders. The science-based targets explains that these targets are developed using internationally recognized scientific methodologies aligned with the objectives of the Paris Agreement, particularly the ambition to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. Organizations establish measurable emissions reduction pathways based on climate science rather than arbitrary commitments, thereby ensuring credibility and comparability. The CDP as a reporting platform highlights how organizations utilize CDP disclosures to communicate progress toward achieving their science-based targets. Annual reporting enables stakeholders to evaluate implementation, monitor emissions reductions, assess governance arrangements, and verify whether organizations remain on track to achieve their climate commitments. The subtopic, Building Accountability and Investor Confidence, emphasizes that integrating science-based targets with transparent disclosure strengthens organizational credibility. Investors, regulators, customers, lenders, and rating agencies increasingly seek evidence that climate commitments are measurable, verifiable, and supported by structured governance rather than aspirational statements alone. As sustainability professionals, we should recognize that disclosure and target setting are complementary components of effective climate governance. Science-based targets define where organizations need to go, while CDP disclosure demonstrates how organizations are progressing toward those objectives. Together, these frameworks support continuous improvement, enhance organizational accountability, strengthen climate resilience, and accelerate the transition toward low-carbon economic development consistent with international climate commitments. Slide 15, Cities and Disclosure. Welcome to the session on Cities and Disclosure, which highlights the increasingly important role of municipalities in addressing climate change and promoting sustainable urban development. Today, cities accommodate more than half of the world's population, generate a significant proportion of global greenhouse gas emissions, and face growing exposure to climate-related hazards such as floods, heat waves, droughts, and sea level rise. Consequently, municipal environmental disclosure has become an essential component of global sustainability governance. The Cities and Disclosure emphasizes how CDP enables local governments to measure, disclose, benchmark, and improve environmental performance while strengthening urban climate resilience. Describing the benefits, the first is benchmarking, explains that CDP enables cities to compare their environmental performance with peer municipalities across the world. Benchmarking helps identify strengths, weaknesses, best practices, and opportunities for continuous improvement while encouraging healthy competition in sustainability leadership. The second is resilience planning, demonstrates how disclosed environmental information supports climate adaptation planning. Municipalities utilize CDP data together with tools such as the Adaptation and Action Explorer to evaluate localized climate risks, prioritize adaptation investments, strengthen infrastructure resilience, and improve disaster preparedness. The third is climate leadership, highlights that transparent reporting enables cities to demonstrate accountability to residents, investors, national governments, development agencies, and international organizations. Public disclosure strengthens governance, improves stakeholder engagement, enhances funding opportunities, and supports evidence-based urban planning. Summing up, one should emphasize that cities play a pivotal role in achieving global climate and sustainable development goals. Municipal disclosure not only improves environmental management but also strengthens public confidence, encourages policy innovation, and facilitates collaboration among governments, businesses, and communities. By adopting standardized disclosure frameworks such as CDP, cities become active participants in building resilient, low-carbon, inclusive, and sustainable urban environments capable of addressing future climate challenges while improving the quality of life for their citizens. Slide 16, Nature Risk, the Next Frontier and Water Security Disclosure. This slide explores nature risk, the next frontier, illustrating the growing recognition that environmental sustainability extends well beyond climate change. While climate mitigation remains essential, organizations increasingly understand that biodiversity loss, freshwater scarcity, ecosystem degradation, and nature-related risks can significantly affect operational continuity, financial performance, supply chain resilience, and long-term business sustainability. The Nature Risk, the Next Frontier, introduces CDP's expanded approach to environmental disclosure by integrating nature-related risks alongside traditional climate reporting. This broader perspective reflects growing scientific evidence demonstrating that economic prosperity depends upon healthy natural ecosystems and sustainable resource management. The nature-related risks explains that organizations are expected to evaluate their dependencies and impacts on biodiversity, forests, freshwater resources, ecosystem services, and natural capital. Understanding these interrelationships enables organizations to identify emerging risks, strengthen environmental governance, and develop more resilient business strategies aligned with global biodiversity objectives. The Water Security Disclosure focuses on one of the most significant environmental challenges facing businesses worldwide. Organizations should assess water availability, evaluate operational and supply chain water risks, identify areas vulnerable to water stress, and implement effective water stewardship practices that protect both business operations and surrounding communities. The water risk assessment, stewardship, and scarcity planning emphasizes that comprehensive water management extends beyond measuring consumption. Organizations should quantify water-related risks, establish responsible stewardship programs, prepare for future scarcity scenarios, engage stakeholders, and develop adaptive strategies that ensure long-term operational continuity while minimizing environmental impacts. As sustainability professionals, we should recognize that nature-related risks are rapidly becoming financially material business risks. Organizations integrating biodiversity conservation, water stewardship, ecosystem protection, and climate resilience into strategic planning will be better positioned to manage future uncertainties, strengthen investor confidence, satisfy regulatory expectations, and contribute meaningfully toward achieving a nature-positive economy that supports both environmental sustainability and long-term business resilience. Slide 17, Forests and Deforestation Disclosure. Welcome to the session on Forests and Deforestation Disclosure, which focuses on one of the most significant environmental challenges confronting the global economy. Forest ecosystems are indispensable natural assets that regulate climate, conserve biodiversity, protect water resources, support indigenous communities, and provide ecosystem services essential for sustainable development. However, accelerating deforestation driven by agricultural expansion and commodity production continues to threaten these vital natural systems. CDP's Forests Questionnaire enables organizations to identify, manage, and transparently disclose forest-related risks throughout their supply chains. The Forests and Deforestation Disclosure emphasizes that responsible forest management has become an integral component of corporate environmental governance and sustainable supply chain management. The key deforestation commodities highlights the four principal commodities covered by CDP's Forests Disclosure Framework: cattle, soy, palm oil, and timber. These commodities are among the leading contributors to tropical deforestation and ecosystem conversion across Latin America, Southeast Asia, and other ecologically sensitive regions. Organizations sourcing these commodities are expected to demonstrate responsible procurement practices and robust environmental due diligence. The Supply Chain Accountability explains that companies should establish traceability systems capable of identifying the origin of forest risk commodities. Transparent supply chain management enables organizations to reduce deforestation risks, improve supplier engagement, strengthen procurement governance, and comply with emerging international regulations concerning sustainable sourcing. The last is related with protecting natural capital, emphasizes that forests provide critical ecosystem services including carbon sequestration, biodiversity conservation, watershed protection, soil stabilization, and climate regulation. Protecting forests therefore contributes directly to climate mitigation, water security, food security, and long-term business resilience. As sustainability professionals, we should recognize that forest disclosure extends beyond environmental reporting. It represents responsible corporate stewardship, strengthens stakeholder confidence, supports sustainable agriculture, reduces regulatory and reputational risks, and contributes significantly toward achieving international biodiversity and climate objectives. Responsible forest governance has become an essential pillar of sustainable business strategy and environmental leadership. Slide 18, From Disclosure to Net Zero. This slide examines from disclosure to net zero, illustrating the logical progression through which environmental transparency supports meaningful climate action. Achieving net zero emissions is not accomplished through isolated initiatives but through a structured process involving measurement, target setting, implementation, continuous monitoring, and transparent reporting. CDP disclosure provides the framework that enables organizations to navigate each stage of this journey systematically. The disclosure to net zero emphasizes that environmental disclosure is the foundation upon which credible net zero strategies are developed, implemented, and communicated. The first is, Disclose, explains that organizations must first establish an accurate and transparent environmental baseline. Comprehensive disclosure enables companies to understand current greenhouse gas emissions, climate risks, energy consumption, operational impacts, and supply chain emissions. Without reliable baseline data, meaningful emissions reduction planning is not possible. The second, related to set targets, focuses on developing measurable climate objectives supported by internationally recognized scientific methodologies. Organizations should establish science-based emissions reduction targets aligned with the Paris Agreement and integrate these objectives into corporate strategy, governance, and investment planning. The third, Reduce Emissions, highlights the implementation of operational improvements including renewable energy adoption, energy efficiency measures, sustainable procurement, process optimization, technological innovation, and supply chain collaboration. These initiatives transform disclosure findings into measurable environmental improvements. The final is with Achieve Net Zero, emphasizes continuous monitoring, transparent reporting, independent verification, and demonstration of progress toward long-term climate commitments. Net zero achievement represents an ongoing commitment to continuous improvement rather than a single organizational milestone. Lastly, one should emphasize that disclosure initiates organizational transformation. Transparent reporting creates accountability, accountability drives action, and sustained action enables organizations to achieve credible net zero outcomes. CDP therefore functions not merely as a disclosure framework but as a strategic management system supporting climate resilience, sustainable growth, investor confidence, and long-term environmental stewardship. Slide 19. CDP's role in the global agenda and the business case for net zero. Welcome to the session on CDP's role in the global agenda, where we explore how environmental disclosure contributes directly to internationally recognized sustainability frameworks and global climate objectives. CDP has evolved into one of the world's most influential environmental disclosure platforms by aligning corporate reporting with major international agreements and sustainable development initiatives. The CDP's role in the global agenda demonstrates how standardized environmental disclosure supports coordinated global action on climate change, biodiversity conservation, and sustainable development. The Paris Agreement highlights CDP's contribution toward limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius through transparent corporate climate disclosure. By enabling organizations to measure emissions, establish science-based targets, and report progress consistently, CDP strengthens global climate accountability and facilitates implementation of national and international climate commitments. The Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework emphasizes CDP's expanding focus on nature-related disclosures, including biodiversity conservation, deforestation prevention, freshwater protection, and ecosystem restoration. This alignment enables organizations to contribute meaningfully toward international efforts aimed at halting nature loss by 2030. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs) illustrates how CDP disclosure supports multiple SDGs, particularly those addressing climate action, clean water, responsible consumption, sustainable cities, life below water, life on land, and partnerships for sustainable development. Another important is related with the business case for net zero, explains that climate leadership creates significant commercial opportunities. Organizations leading decarbonization efforts gain improved access to green finance, strengthen brand reputation, attract environmentally conscious customers and talented employees, reduce regulatory exposure, and improve long-term operational resilience. Thus, as sustainability professionals, we should recognize that environmental responsibility and economic competitiveness are increasingly interconnected. Organizations aligning business strategy with international sustainability frameworks through transparent disclosure position themselves to create long-term value while contributing constructively to global environmental objectives and sustainable economic development. Slide 20. Aligned with global frameworks and CDP's global reach. This slide focuses on aligned with global frameworks, highlighting one of CDP's greatest strengths, its ability to harmonize environmental disclosure with internationally recognized sustainability frameworks. As organizations increasingly face multiple reporting obligations, interoperability between reporting systems has become essential for reducing duplication while improving consistency and reporting efficiency. The Aligned with Global Frameworks emphasizes that CDP's disclosure architecture enables organizations to satisfy diverse stakeholder expectations through one integrated environmental reporting framework. The alignment with global frameworks explains that CDP is designed to complement major international initiatives including the Paris Agreement, the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Such alignment ensures that corporate environmental disclosures contribute directly to internationally agreed sustainability objectives while supporting regulatory preparedness and investor confidence. The CDP's global reach demonstrates the remarkable scale of organizational participation. More than 23,000 companies disclose environmental information annually through CDP, creating one of the world's most comprehensive environmental data repositories. In addition, more than 1,100 requesting authorities, including investors, purchasing organizations, and cities, actively utilize CDP disclosures for decision-making, representing approximately $136 trillion in managed assets. Lastly, creating global environmental intelligence emphasizes that CDP's extensive database supports benchmarking, scientific research, regulatory development, sustainable finance, procurement decisions, and corporate governance across international markets. The availability of standardized environmental information improves transparency, comparability, and evidence-based decision-making at both organizational and policy levels. As instructors, we should emphasize that globally aligned disclosure frameworks reduce reporting complexity while increasing strategic value. Organizations participating in CDP simultaneously strengthen regulatory readiness, enhance investor confidence, improve operational resilience, and contribute to global environmental objectives. CDP's international reach demonstrates that environmental transparency has become a universal business expectation and a cornerstone of sustainable economic development in the 21st century. Slide 21. Resources to support your disclosure and disclosure quality matters. Welcome to this session on resources to support your disclosure, where we explore the extensive support ecosystem developed by CDP to help organizations achieve high-quality environmental reporting. Effective sustainability disclosure extends beyond completing a questionnaire. It requires reliable guidance, robust data management systems, cross-functional collaboration, and continuous organizational learning. CDP provides numerous resources that enable organizations to strengthen reporting quality while improving overall environmental governance. The resources to support your disclosure emphasizes that organizations should utilize CDP's technical guidance, knowledge resources, and digital tools to enhance both reporting quality and strategic environmental decision-making. The Disclosure Quality Matters reinforces that the credibility of environmental reporting depends upon three fundamental principles. The completeness requires organizations to provide comprehensive, accurate, and verified responses covering all material environmental issues. The second is consistency, emphasizes alignment across reporting periods and consistency with publicly available sustainability information. Finally, the third is ambition, encourages organizations to establish meaningful science-based targets and demonstrate continuous environmental improvement rather than minimum compliance. Now we shall explore the resources to support the disclosure. The first Disclosure Hub introduces CDP's centralized support platform containing reporting guidance, technical documents, frequently asked questions, methodologies, questionnaires, and instructional resources. These materials help reporting teams interpret disclosure requirements correctly and ensure consistency throughout the reporting process. The Insights Library highlights an extensive collection of reports, benchmarking studies, articles, case studies, and analytical publications that enable organizations to compare performance, understand emerging trends, identify best practices, and continuously improve sustainability strategies. The third is Adaptation and Action Explorer, demonstrates how AI-powered decision support tools extend disclosure beyond reporting by helping organizations understand localized climate and nature-related risks while identifying practical adaptation pathways. Lastly, one should emphasize that high-quality disclosure builds organizational credibility, strengthens investor confidence, enhances regulatory readiness, and transforms environmental reporting into a strategic management tool supporting long-term sustainability leadership. Slide 22. Building internal capacity and small steps, big impact. This slide focuses on building internal capacity, highlighting one of the most important prerequisites for successful environmental disclosure. High-quality sustainability reporting cannot be achieved through the efforts of a single department. Instead, it requires organization-wide collaboration, integrated governance, effective data management, and a culture that values environmental accountability. Building internal capacity therefore becomes a strategic investment rather than an administrative expense. The building internal capacity emphasizes the importance of developing organizational competencies that support consistent, accurate, and credible environmental disclosure over the long term. The cross-functional collaboration explains that successful CDP reporting requires coordinated contributions from sustainability professionals, finance teams, legal departments, procurement specialists, operations personnel, risk managers, information technology teams, and senior leadership. Environmental information is generated throughout the organization, making integrated governance essential for reporting accuracy. The environmental data management highlights the importance of establishing reliable systems for collecting, validating, storing, analyzing, and reporting environmental information. Strong internal data governance improves reporting efficiency, supports regulatory compliance, strengthens internal controls, and enhances stakeholder confidence. The other topic is related to small steps, big impact, provides an encouraging message for organizations at every stage of their sustainability journey. Whether organizations are participating in CDP for the first time or refining mature reporting systems, continuous improvement remains the central objective. Continuous improvement, moreover, emphasizes that environmental excellence develops progressively through repeated cycles of measurement, disclosure, evaluation, target setting, implementation, and performance review. Every reporting cycle enhances organizational knowledge, governance, and environmental performance. As sustainability professionals, one should encourage organizations to view disclosure as a long-term capability-building exercise. Investing in people, processes, technology, governance, and collaboration strengthens resilience, improves decision-making, enhances disclosure quality, and creates enduring value. The cumulative effect of thousands of organizations strengthening internal sustainability capacity contributes significantly to global environmental progress and sustainable economic transformation. Slide 23. A new era for environmental transparency. Welcome to this session on a new era for environmental transparency, which highlights one of the most significant organizational developments in CDP's evolution. As environmental challenges become increasingly complex, organizations require stronger institutional support, more sophisticated analytical capabilities, and broader stakeholder engagement. CDP's restructuring into the CDP Foundation and CDP reflects this strategic evolution while preserving a unified mission of advancing environmental transparency and Earth-positive decision-making. A new era for environmental transparency emphasizes that environmental disclosure is entering a new phase characterized by greater scale, deeper intelligence, digital innovation, and enhanced global collaboration. The first topic is guidance, explains that organizations now benefit from comprehensive support resources including technical guidance documents, disclosure methodologies, training materials, and the Disclosure Hub. These resources improve reporting quality while helping organizations navigate increasingly sophisticated environmental disclosure requirements. The second topic, intelligence, highlights the integration of advanced technologies such as the AI-powered Adaptation and Action Explorer, which transforms environmental data into practical strategic intelligence. Artificial intelligence enables organizations to identify localized climate and nature-related risks while supporting evidence-based adaptation planning and resilience building. The third topic is related with impact, demonstrates how CDP connects disclosed environmental information with investors, policymakers, regulators, supply chain partners, financial institutions, and other stakeholders capable of driving meaningful environmental action. Environmental transparency therefore becomes a catalyst for informed decision-making throughout the global economy. As sustainability professional, one should emphasize that transparency alone does not create sustainability. Rather, it enables informed decisions that lead to measurable environmental improvements. The evolution of CDP reflects the broader transformation of sustainability reporting from isolated corporate reporting toward integrated environmental intelligence supporting climate resilience, biodiversity conservation, sustainable finance, public policy development, and responsible global business leadership. This new era represents a significant advancement in the governance of corporate environmental performance. Slide 24. Key takeaways. As we conclude this presentation, let us review the key takeaways from the CDP 2026 disclosure cycle. Throughout these sessions, we have examined how environmental disclosure has evolved from a voluntary reporting initiative into one of the world's most influential sustainability management frameworks. CDP now serves as a critical bridge connecting organizations, investors, regulators, policymakers, customers, and society through transparent, standardized, and science-based environmental information. The key takeaways summarizes the strategic importance of participating in the 2026 disclosure cycle while reinforcing the central role of transparency in achieving long-term sustainability objectives. The first topic is related to 2026 cycle is open, reminds organizations that the official CDP response window provides an opportunity to begin or strengthen environmental disclosure. Early participation supports regulatory readiness, strengthens governance, improves stakeholder confidence, and enhances organizational resilience within an increasingly sustainability-focused business environment. The second topic is two organizations, one mission, emphasizes that the CDP Foundation and CDP perform complementary roles while pursuing a shared objective of enabling Earth-positive decisions through credible environmental information. Together they combine public-purpose leadership with world-class disclosure infrastructure and analytical capability. The third topic is related with AI-powered tools, highlights how innovations such as the Adaptation and Action Explorer transform disclosure into actionable intelligence by supporting localized climate risk assessment, resilience planning, and strategic decision-making. The final topic is related to disclosure equals value, reinforces one of the most important messages of this presentation. Transparent environmental reporting creates measurable strategic value by strengthening governance, improving operational performance, enhancing investor confidence, facilitating sustainable finance, reducing regulatory risks, and supporting continuous environmental improvement. As sustainability professionals, we should view CDP not merely as a disclosure framework but as a strategic management system that enables organizations to build resilience, strengthen competitiveness, demonstrate environmental leadership, and contribute meaningfully toward achieving global climate, biodiversity, and sustainable development objectives. Here we end the 3-episode series on sustainable CDP climate disclosure, and from next week we'll move to new topic on another important sustainable disclosure frameworks known as integrated and value creation frameworks. We encourage you to remain actively engaged with our channel, participate in the forthcoming sessions in continuing this topic related to various types of risk associated in sustainable disclosures, and thoughtfully disseminate these professional insights across your networks, particularly among business leaders, sustainability practitioners, compliance professionals, and stakeholders committed to advancing responsible corporate governance and transparent reporting practices.